Net Nostalgia Forum, Television Local. Skyshale 033. Subject, Candle Cove, Local Kids Show? Does anyone remember this kids show? It was called Candle Cove, and I must have been 6 or 7. I never found reference to it anywhere, so I think it was on a local station around 1971 or 1972. I lived in Ironton at the time. I don't remember which station, but I do remember it was on at a weird time, like 4 p.m. Mike_Painter 65. It seems really familiar to me. I grew up outside of Ashland and was 9 years old in 72. Candle Cove. Was it about pirates? I remember a pirate marionette at the mouth of a cave talking to a little girl. Skyshale 033 replies, "Yes, okay, I'm not crazy. I remember Pirate Percy. I was always kind of scared of him. He looked like he was built from other parts of dolls, real low budget. His head was an old porcelain baby doll, looked like an antique that didn't belong on the body. I still don't remember what station it was. I don't think it was WTSF though." Jaren 2005. Sorry to resurrect this old thread, but I know exactly what you mean, Skyshale. I think Candle Cove only ran for a couple months in 71, not 72. I was 12 and I watched it a few times with my brother. It was Channel 58, whatever station that was. My mom would let me switch to it after the news. Let me see what I remember. It took place in Candle Cove, and it was about a little girl who imagined herself to be friends of pirates. The pirate ship was called the Laughingstock, and Pirate Percy wasn't a very good pirate because he got scared way too easily. And there was this calliope music constantly playing. I don't remember the girl's name. Janice Jade or something? I think it was Janice. Skyshale 033. Thank you, Jaren. Memories flooded back when you mentioned the Laughingstock in Channel 58. I remember how the bow of the ship was a wooden smiling face with the lower jaw submerged. It looked like it was swallowing the sea, and it had that awful Ed Wynn voice and laugh. I remember how jarring it was when they switched from the wooden plastic model to the foam puppet version with the head that talked. Mike Painter 65. Haha, I remember now too. Do you remember this part, Skyshale? "You have to go inside." Skyshale 033. Ugh, I got a chill reading that. Yes, I remember. That's the way the ship always told Percy when there was a spooky place they had to go into, like a cave or a darker room where the treasure was. And the camera would close in on the Laughingstock's face with each pause. "You have to go inside," with his two eyes askew and that flopping foam jaw and the fishing line that opened and closed it. Ugh, it just looked so cheap and awful. You guys remember the villain? He had a face that was just a handlebar mustache. Really tall, narrow teeth. Kevin Hart replies, "I honestly thought the villain was Pirate Percy. I was about 5 when the show was on. Pure nightmare fuel." Jaren 2005 replies, "That wasn't the villain. The puppet with the mustache, that was the villain's sidekick, Horace Horrible. He had a monocle too, but it was on top of the mustache. I used to think that meant he only had one eye. But yeah, the villain was another marionette, the Skin Taker." I can't believe the shit they let us watch back then. Kevin Hart. Jeez, the Skin Taker. What kind of show were we watching? I seriously could not look at the screen when the skin taker showed up. He just descended out of nowhere on his strings. Just a dirty skeleton, that brown top hat and cape, and his glass eyes that were too big for his skull. Jeez. Skyshell 033 replies, wasn't his top hat and cloak all sewn together crazily? Was that supposed to be children's skin? Mike Painter 65. Yeah, I think so. Remember, his mouth didn't open and close. His jaw just slid back and forth. I remember the little girl said, "Why does your mouth move like that?" And the skin taker didn't look at the girl, but at the camera, and said, "To grind your skin." Skyshell 033. Ugh. I'm so relieved that other people remember this terrible show. I used to have this awful memory, a bad dream, where the opening jingle ended, the show faded in from black, and all the characters were there, but the camera was just cutting to each of their faces, and they were just screaming. The puppets and marionettes were flailing erratically, and just screaming and screaming. The girl was moaning and crying like she had been through hours of this. I woke up many times in that nightmare. I used to wet the bed when I had it. Kevin Hart replies, I don't think that was a dream. I remember that. That was an episode. Skyshell 033. No. That's not possible. There was no plot or anything. I mean, it was literally just standing in place, crying and screaming for the whole episode. Kevin Hart replies, Maybe I'm manufacturing the memory because you said that, but I swear I remember seeing what you described. They just screamed. Jaren 2005. Yes! The little girl, Janice. I remember seeing her head shake and the skin taker screaming through his gnashing teeth, his jaw careening so wildly I thought it would come off its wire hinges. I turned it off, and that was the last time I ever watched. I ran to tell my brother, and we didn't have the courage to turn it back on. Mike Painter, 65, replies, I visited my mom today at the nursing home. I asked her about when I was little, in the early 70s, when I was around 8 or 9, if she remembered a kids show, Candle Cove. She said she was surprised. I could remember, and I asked why, and she said, because I used to think it was so strange that you said, I'm going to go watch Candle Cove now, Mom, and then you would tune the TV to static and just watch dead air for 30 minutes. You had a big imagination with your little pirate show.